My name is Kianis Taylor, and I'm with Great School Voices, and I am so excited to welcome Mr. Sam Davis from the Oakland Board of Education. Mr. Davis, can you tell us who you are and how you're raising the bar for youth?
Well, yes, I'm a parent and a former teacher here in Oakland, and I was elected in 2020. And on the school board, I'm raising the bar for Oakland youth. I think the biggest achievement I've had in my time on the board was leading the campaign to renew Measure N via Measure H, which was the College and Career for All initiative, and that guarantees for another 14 years that we will have college and career pathways in all of our high schools in Oakland.
Outstanding. Congratulations on your successes, and thank you as a parent as well of an Oakland youth. Now, we have another set of elections coming up in November, and there's a hot topic on the button Measure QQ. Can you tell us what it is and where we are in the process with it?
Well, so Measure QQ passed in 2020 at the same time that I was elected, and it recommended to the city of Oakland that they allow 16 and 17-year-olds to actually have the right to vote in school board elections. So we all know, when you turn 18, you can register to vote. But the idea was that actually our older teenagers, 16 and 17-year-olds, would be able to vote only in school board elections and in their, as they get ready to take on full citizenship. And so what happened is it passed overwhelmingly, and the city has actually advocated for it to be implemented very strongly. But the registrar of voters, who works for Alameda County, has been very cautious and slow about implementing it. I think, justifiably worried that there would be some controversy over how the election works out. He had some problems with his implementation of ranked choice voting a couple years ago. But it's been 4 years, and so it's nigh time for this to happen. And the County Board of Supervisors has now directed him to implement it, and the City of Oakland has signed an MOU, as has the City of Berkeley, because they also passed a similar measure even earlier. So it looks like it's pretty likely to happen, but we're all still crossing our fingers and checking our emails to see what the plan is.
Oh, wow, that is very exciting. Are the elections typically this exciting with regard to these types of measures for that relate to students?
Well, I think usually pretty far ahead of the election who's actually going to be voting. So to not know this close to election day, it's less than 100 days to election day, and we still don't know for sure if 16 and 17-year-olds will be allowed to vote. But they can pre-register on actually at registertovote.ca.gov, like on the state's registration page. There's an option for 16 and 17-year-olds to pre-register to vote. And so that's going to be the mechanism. So we're recommending to all 16 and 17-year-olds, or if you know any, to tell them to go to that website and pre-register to vote. And that way they'll receive, hopefully, a ballot in the mail from the registrar of voters in October.
Can you tell us that website again?
It's registertovote.ca.gov.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna.
you can also just fill out a voter registration form and check off pre-register. But we all know our young people are much more technologically aligned, and so they're much more likely to do it on a website than on a paper form.
That is so true. So, any young people watching this, go to this website and make sure that you pre-register so that your voice can be counted.
That's right.
Now, what is, well, before I go there, I know that Oakland City Council has voted to approve Measure QQ, that the city of Berkeley has done the same, and that we're now waiting to see this third step of the registrar confirming the administrative process for allowing this to happen. How can the public hold this process or its stakeholders accountable? What can people do?
I think if people want to reach out to their county supervisor, so those folks are not as well known sometimes as the city council people or even our school board representatives, But the county supervisors actually play a tremendous role in just directing resources to social services. And in this case, they also supervise the registrar of voters. And so we have a very important race for a large chunk of Oakland in the fifth district for the county supervisors, which is Nikki Fortunata Bass, who's currently on the Oakland City Council, has a runoff against John Bowders, who's a city council member in Emeryville. And so that's a very significant race, replacing Keith Carson, who I believe has been on the County Board of Supervisors for an extended time,
Really long
has a
time.
very storied career, and we're, all in awe of him
I
and
love
looking forward
Supervisor
to,
Patton.
wishing him well on his retirement. But yeah, so I think Keith Carson's office has been very supportive of Youth Vote, as had Supervisor Lena Tam. I think another supervisor that folks may want to reach out to in Oakland is Nate Miley, who has expressed some concern about the implementation of Youth Vote and the cost, which are all valid concerns. But we just feel, after 4 years, it's time.
I see. Well, thank you for that direction and resources for people to be able to get involved. Now, I understand that there was another election last year that had some consternation, some trouble. Would you say that this process in any way is similar to last year's District 4 school board vote?
I don't think so. I think um, well, we actually don't have that many people actually running for school board this year. So I think, it's a tough job. It's been a tough job. And I personally have decided not to run for reelection. I feel like my own teenager has graduated. I'm ready to move on. I still want to be involved in the schools, but I don't, I'm ready to pass the reins on after the end of this year. Um, and so there's, I think, only 2 people have filed so far in each district. And so, in terms of any concerns about ranked choice voting and any complications, those don't really come into play because there's only 2 people in each district. So, there's no ranked choice voting complications that could arise.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. Can you tell us any more about what is the path forward for Measure QQ beyond this hurdle of the registrar?
Well, so from what I heard, there's some concerns about since the ballots are going to be a little different, can they be processed correctly? But like by machines and so forth, because they are going to be mail in ballots for the most part. But the reality is that we only have 10,000 or so students age 16 or 17 in Oakland between the charter schools and the public schools. And so there's actually not that many students, because when you divide them between the 7 districts and then you look at how realistically how many are actually going to register and vote, it's going to be, in the range of 100 to 200 probably in each district, maybe 300 in a high voter district. But so the numbers are not such that, the counting is, again, only 2 candidates. So it's going to be pretty easy. You could probably just sit down and count them by hand in about an hour each. So, I think some of the concerns about, oh, what's the budget going to be for this? I could see if you had, 5 candidates and ranked choice to tally and all of that, it might be complicated. But the reality is, this is actually a good year for it to be implemented because there's only 2 candidates in each district and there's not that many students in each one.
So it sounds like you're confident that we will be able to pull it through and get kids voting this year.
I think if we don't, then I think we really need to go to our county supervisors and ask them very directly, what happened and why not, because they gave clear direction to the registrar. And like I said, it doesn't seem to be that large of a hurdle to overcome.
Okay. And lastly, what are the students saying?
Oh, well, the students are saying, I would say the students are excited about it, because the ones who are 16 and 17 now, when this passed, they were probably in middle school. And so it's sort of brand new for the ones who are actually 16 and 17 now. the ones that I've heard more from are actually the college students who are coming back and saying, I was involved in the campaign. There was actually the daughter of a friend of mine who I saw at some of the meetings, who's at UC San Diego now, and she was saying, I was involved in this campaign. I can't believe that I'm having to come back during my summer vacation and go to these, board of supervisor meetings to advocate because it still hasn't been implemented. 4 years after it was voted into, it was approved by the voters. So I think the students are very excited, and I was just hearing from our student engagement specialist in the district. They're planning to do a youth voter forum to hear from the candidates. So it's really going to be exciting to see it play out.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like Measure QQ is already energizing civic activity amongst youth. And I want to thank you for joining us today and for your service as the president of the school board and for your advocacy of this important measure. Is there anything else you'd
Absolutely.
like to share with us?
No, I just would recommend that everybody, I know it's a very lengthy ballot. We're very excited to have an Oakland native at the top of the ballot now. And so everyone's focus right now, I know, is in the media on, who's she going to choose as her vice presidential candidate. But we also just encourage voters to look all the way down to the bottom of the ballot at the school board races and educate themselves about the issues and the candidates and what they represent, so that they can make a good choice in November.
Outstanding. Well, any young people that are watching, don't forget to go to www.registertovote.ca.gov and make your voice be heard. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Davis.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
Likewise. Take care.